So I want to start today with something that took me years to understand, even as someone who works with money every day. Now, your income isn't the only thing that determines your wealth, and it's not even the most important thing. What really matters far more is what you can keep and what you can grow consistently. Because earning well doesn't really guarantee security, and it definitely doesn't guarantee freedom. Over the last decade, I've worked with dozens of dentists who earn extremely well and still feel financially exposed, and others with more modest incomes who've quietly built real independence. And what separates them isn't hard work or intelligence or clinical skill. It's far simpler. The quality of their financial systems and whether it leaks or it's designed to give you high control and leverage. That's what I want to talk about today in this final episode. So most dentists I meet are doing everything that they were taught to do. They run a good practice, they serve their patients, they save, they try and pay down debt, they buy a home, they trust their accountant, and they invest when time allows. But even with all of that, many still have this quiet thought, which is, I'm working hard, but I'm not sure I'm actually getting ahead. And they often blame themselves. Maybe I'm just not good with money. Maybe I started too late. Maybe this is just how it is. But that's not true. What is true is that your financial life has structure, and every structure has its weak points. And if those weak points aren't strengthened, then money will escape through them, slowly, quietly, and predictably. And this is where I want to introduce a simple metaphor as a lens. Imagine your financial life as a bucket. The bucket fills with the income from your practice, your investments, your savings. But every bucket has holes. Some holes are really small. Maybe there are tax inefficiencies, interest costs, unoptimized loans. Some are medium, money sitting idle, deals you never quite feel confident to pursue. And some are really big, like not tracking your practice health, no clear plan, limited opportunity set. On their own, each of those leaks seems really manageable, but together over 5 or 10 years or 20 years, they actually massively dictate your outcome. And this is where most dentists get stuck. Not because they don't earn enough, but because their buckets were just never designed to hold what they earn. And the hardest part about all of this is that many of these leaks sit outside your line of sight. And that's why I want to share Jack's story, because it's a clear example of how this plays out. So Jack came to see me feeling uncertain. So not panicked, not struggling, just uncertain. He was highly levered. He'd bought a good practice. He had a bit of debt, but he was doing well financially and he'd made sensible decisions. Nothing dramatic was wrong, but he felt something that many dentists feel. I think I could be doing more, but I'm not sure what that means or where to start. And so as we talked, what stood out wasn't a crisis. It was the absence of clarity. For example, he didn't know what profit or wealth number he should be targeting, whether his current trajectory would get him where he wanted to go, or whether he was taking the right steps, or whether there were better opportunities available to him. And he wasn't alone, because this is the norm for most dentists. Jack didn't have a planning problem, he had a visibility problem. He couldn't see where money was leaking, where momentum could be built, or what decisions would make the biggest difference. And once we unpacked his situation and we started to implement, the fog lifted, not through any radical changes, but through clarity and structure. He started seeing how his practice was actually tracking, where each dollar could go, how his practice could support his wealth journey, and what opportunities actually made sense for him. So not overwhelm, no pressure, just clarity and confidence. And that's the transformation that most dentists just never get to experience. And that brings us to the real point of today's episode. Every dentist I've worked with, whether early in their career or decades in, they face the same 3 problems. These aren't abstract, and they're the source of most financial underperformance. So the first problem is no real plan. So not this vague idea, or not a save more or pay down debt type plan, but a real plan which answers, what is the actual wealth number you need? Is your practice healthy? When do you want optionality? What should money be doing between now and then? What role should your practice play? How do lifestyle choices fit into that? Without a plan, money drifts, and drifting leads to leaks. The second problem is a limited opportunity set. Most dentists never see the investment universe that sits outside of mainstream. They rely on superannuation, managed funds, maybe a property or two, and practice reinvestment. These are slow, linear strategies, but the global opportunity set is far broader and far more powerful. And when you understand how to navigate it, then you can start getting outsized results. So this isn't about taking more risk, it's about accessing strategies that aren't part of the default menu. And this is, frankly, where the ultra wealthy operate. The third problem is just no execution confidence. And this is the biggest leak. Dentists often know they should be doing more, but they don't feel confident enough to act. How do I assess this? Is this too risky? How do I compare opportunities? How do I know who to trust? What if I mess this up? This lack of confidence creates one outcome, which is delay. And delay is extremely expensive. Years disappear. Momentum never builds. Execution confidence doesn't come from bravado, it comes from understanding. And once dentists see the logic behind decisions, action becomes natural, even easy. So dentists don't need more information. They need a system. They need the right information. A system that identifies their leaks, gives them clarity, expands their opportunity set, builds execution confidence, and supports them in the long term. And that's why Freedom Warrior Dentist exists. Not to sell products, not to replace accountants or planners, but to sit in the seat that nobody else sits in. It's the co-pilot who sees the whole picture. Accountants see tax, planners see products, brokers see transactions. We see the ecosystem, your whole financial life, how the practice fits together with everything else, where you are exposed and where you can accelerate. And that's the work. And at the end of the day, money doesn't leak because you're undisciplined or bad with numbers or late to the game. Money leaks because the system around it was never designed to support the life you actually want. And once you fix the system, once the leaks are addressed, your income works the way that it was meant to. Quiet, predictably, and powerfully. So if you've been listening to this series and you've recognized any of these patterns, and if you want clarity, better opportunities, and confidence in your next steps, then book a call to have a conversation. It really is a chat about exploring whether the way you're tracking the health of your practice and building wealth is actually serving you or quietly holding you back. And if we're the right fit to help, we'll talk about what that looks like. Your income is strong, your effort is strong. Now, though, is the time to build structure that lets both of those things compound into real freedom. So let me leave you with one final thought. Money replenishes, but time does not. Don't drift another 5 years trying to figure this out yourself. Take action today.